Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they war. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives.
Taking that break on top.
Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slide, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on UCY.TV, my favorite little online network. And it is the 10th of September 2017. I'm your host for the next 2 hours. And went out for a great breakfast today with Liza, who people who listen to UCY or hang out in the chat would know. Liza, a teacher that taught for many, many years in the reserves, and we've talked many times together in the past, and so she's here, and we went out for breakfast this morning, had a really good time, and just got back, actually. So anyways, I might just try and get her on air here in a bit. She's up at the other house right now, so hopefully maybe she'll come back and get her on air, get some of her thoughts. And anyways, I just got a map up here of the hurricane, and it did exactly what I thought it was going to do. It moved west. When I was looking at the original lines, I'm thinking, wait a minute here. How this thing's going to have to do an absolute 90-degree turn. And okay, thanks for that. I just got a note in Skype. Anyways, so you know, and this is weird because the European model of the hurricane was more to the west, and the Americans and all these other lines were, you know, Miami's going to get wiped off the map, but I couldn't possibly see how this thing could make a 90-degree turn like that. So, you know, hopefully, it looks like the west side of Florida might get creamed pretty bad, but hopefully it just keeps moving west, and hopefully if it gets out in open water again, it doesn't pick up speed and slam into Alabama or Louisiana or something. It's a bad storm regardless of where it lands or where it hits. So all I can say is I hope everybody's hunkered down or got the hell out of there and is safe, because it's apparently going to run for another 3 days or something, 5 days maybe. It's only moving like at 9 miles an hour, right? So it'd take a long time to crawl up the coast. Haven't worked on Hurricane Andrew or after. And the same thing, you know, and I saw a thing first thing this morning. The internet was really, I didn't know we were going to get on air today. The internet was just not working. I don't know if it has something to do with that solar flare or what, but it wasn't working. Whereas the dam seems to be okay now. But it's the tornadoes, I think, that is probably, I mean, you got your storm surges and that, but what I saw down at Homestead, those tornadoes tore the hell out of everything. And I see there's tornadoes popping all over the place in Florida now. So hopefully they settle down and don't do too much damage. Yeah, I just got the satellite map up here, and what's irritating me, is I've been kind of watching this a little bit on and off, and looking for updates and whatnot, and what I find odd is that most of the so-called updates I've been running into seem to be coming from British newspapers or British online sites. I'm thinking, when you're getting updates that are not up to date, it doesn't make any sense. See, here's one from the UK 2 minutes ago. And this the two top, the Telegraph from the UK and the Guardian from the UK. One's 2 minutes ago, one's 1 minute ago, and New York Times 17 minutes ago. So I'm not exactly sure where this thing is at the minute. I heard this morning it was crossing Key West. And it looks like it's just not it's gonna cross Key West and miss the rest of the Keys, really. At least the eye of it, and it's going to go out on open water again, and then because Florida sucks in, and then it comes out west again, the land. So it looks like it's going to just skirt the bottom of Florida and hit open water again, and then cruise along the coast. So hopefully it doesn't pick up any speed. It says right now it's a Category 4. And hopefully it starts dissipating as fast as possible, and this doesn't do too much damage. Because right now what I'm seeing on this latest map is the eye is past the Keys now and is back out into open water. So hopefully, maybe when it catches the next piece of land, it maybe helps to bounce it. But then what happens if it goes out in the Gulf? Does it get strong again, turn into a 5? Who the hell knows? So it's not good. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And everybody just cross your fingers that everybody's safe and as little damage as possible is done, and go from there. One thing that really kicked me was the amount of power outages down there already. And I'm actually kind of, well, I guess they've got to put it on poles, but a lot of the new stuff, they put it underground. And I guess maybe because of the low elevation of the land down there, where I was at Homestead, like under the ground, it's like coral and that. So possibly they can't bury the cables. Because, I mean, those winds just toss those poles, man. They just snap them like toothpicks. So it seems every time there's a storm down there, the amount of people that lose power is freaking outrageous. From what I saw, there's hundreds of thousands of people or areas that don't have power. And it's going to take a long time to put all them poles and that back up. So what I got a thing from I saw this go by, and I want to take my hat off to Chris because I've been saying it's the ladies now who are really kicking butt. So we got this guy, I think his name's something Singh, who's Jagmeet Singh. wearing his yellow turban, running for the leadership of the New Democrat Party here, which is the third biggest party in Canada, and it's tagged to the International Socialist Movement. Wants to be the leader of the party, and I saw this go by, and I didn't look at it, but there's a woman that takes a shot at this guy. I haven't seen it, but the party's over, and he's sending this to me, saying, "You're going to love this one. Notice it's a girl." And I don't know how long I've been saying that. I've been watching the numbers, and guys, you got to pick up the pace, man. The ladies are making you look bad. The ladies are the ones that are kicking butt, and the guys don't appear to be doing a hell of a lot of anything. And you gotta just pick it up. It's going to be pretty bad if it's the women who save our nation, and the guys don't even notice what's going on because they're watching the ball game. It's pretty freaking sad. So I'm going to stick this. I haven't seen it, but I'm going to stick it in the chat because she looks like she means business from the picture here, and I'll throw that in the chat, and you can take a boo at it. But don't let the ladies make us look bad, guys, right? And it's not about them. It's about we got to get together on this. Okay, we really got to get together on this. If the ladies can step up to the plate, the guys can step up to the plate, and they got to get moving soon. You're missing a real good party here, which is us beating these globalists back, and you don't want to miss out on it. You just don't want to miss out on it. And then there's another picture that was sent to me, and I don't know what that story is. Something about lunchbox letdowns, parents grapple with, confused over ban on peanut butter alternatives. So I'm not exactly sure what that's about. But the point is that the picture that is sent and what's written under it is notice the white child in the background, and that's the whole point. Okay, it's not the story so much; it's the changing color and the putting of the offspring of the forefathers farther and farther into the background. I see this all the time. You go to government sites, they'll have your token white guy in there, or white girl. Now we were having lunch, and I don't know if Liza, but there was 2 tables of Muslims sitting there, young Muslims. So I'm wondering if, and we don't have any Muslims really here. So I'm wondering if they're gonna do the door knocking again, because every now and again they'll roll into town and they'll put door knockers on your door, introducing themselves as that Islam is the religion of peace. So I'm not sure why they're here, but we don't have them here. We have the odd Muslim, but we mostly have a few white women who are pretending to be Muslims, with their headscarves and stuff on. But I got a funny feeling that they're in town here to be knocking doors. And I did have a meeting with these people probably now 5-6 years ago, at the library, and they had all their propaganda and that there with them, and I was the only one that attended the meeting, so we got to spend 2 hours with them, and we talked, and I said, you people are convinced that Islam will be the new religion, and you're also convinced that Sharia will be the law of the land. And they said, absolutely. So, we have this idea that, I'm talking about Islam and being, the faith and the law is conspiracy. It's not conspiracy. I spent 2 hours with these people. They have been convinced that they are going to run this country. And so you need to step up to the plate. It's the same as that woman who's going after the NDP leader. And the guys need to step up to the plate. Have I got you now, Christopher?
You got me.
Yeah, I don't know why. I brought you in here 3 times and you keep disappearing.
Yeah, I think you're trying to avoid me.
No, I'm not. I'm bringing you in. You keep disappearing. The internet's not, it's kind of bouncy today. And that shows you just how vulnerable we are, because everything is being run from online. And they can shut down your access to your money. They can shut down access to everything.
Just wait till they get rid of the paper.
Huh?
I said, just wait till they get rid of the paper.
Yeah. Now, I know in India, over there, because they're ahead of us as far as getting rid of the paper, the Indian people are not happy campers. And they've been raising a fair bit of crap over this. You never read about it in these papers over here. They may do a story about India becoming more sustainable or whatever, but you won't hear the news you need to hear coming out of India or anywhere else, which is unfortunate as hell. So yeah, I didn't watch the video because I got Firefox open, and for some oddball reason Firefox won't allow me to watch YouTube right now, and I didn't have time to open it up in Explorer. I did see it go by before, and I did see it was a lady that was taking a shot at. Did you listen to the video?
Which one?
The one with the lady was going after the
Sikh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the only issue I have is she was doing what she probably listens to your show, and she jumped up and said, we do not want Sharia law in our country.
She actually said that. Good for her.
Well, the problem is he's a Sikh.
Yeah, but
they don't rule by Sharia law. But
but the
her
point
overall point was important because we got a turban head.
Well, that's just the whole point.
Wanting to run for the leadership of our country.
Well, yeah, and this is what I keep telling people. You got to run, folks. The whole plan is to, he didn't retire yet. The head of the military wears a turban. The immigration minister is a Muslim. The attorney general in Ontario is a Muslim. And they flooded the country with Sikhs a long time ago. And then we bowed down to the religious rights, which is wearing a turban in public office, be it police or whatever. So this is a case of nobody is assimilating. In the old days, you assimilated. Now they're saying you don't have to assimilate. We'll assimilate to you. So they flipped it. And she's absolutely right. how in the hell could we possibly end up in Canada? Because if he wins the NDP leadership,
he's in the lead right now.
Huh?
He's in the lead right now.
Oh no, I'm sure he is. So if he wins this leadership, then he stands to be in a position to become the next prime minister of this country.
Correct.
Now, that's ludicrous. That's over the top. So we have the head of the military, the head of immigration, the possible PM, the AG in Ontario, and the mayor of Calgary, and so on and so on and so on and so on. Did people not get the picture? Right? You're being shoved into the background. You're being made to disappear. Your voice is being made to disappear. Because as the face of your politics changes, so does the outcome of your politics change. You ain't going to have a voice. What about us? What about us? That's what you're going to hear. What about us? Well, why didn't you run? You let us take your freaking country over, you fools. Now we got control of it. Ha, ha, ha. I mean, how stupid can we possibly be here? Pretty stupid, apparently. But
Ron, you know that I'm going far out there. I'm a pretty crazy guy, right?
Not really.
My mind is all over the board all the time. But the way I'm seeing things right now is Canada is going to be the staging ground for the next war. Tell me if I'm wrong. We're allowing 3,000 Muslims a week to cross our border by boat or through the States. We're going to lose, what did you say last night? We're going to lose, what is it, Alberta by 2020. This is getting serious. Like, we got to stop this.
Well, it's always been serious, just nobody ever paid attention to it.
No, but this is getting big time.
Well, it's just a continuation of a plan that was put in place a long, long time ago, and nobody wanted to realize it. They are seeing it now. There's 2 tables of Muslims sitting in a restaurant this morning in a town of 7,500 white people, which should go, where the hell these people come from? And I'm not, these may be fine, decent people, but the plan is to implement their state over top of our state. And that's no good. I don't care how nice these people are individually. And I'm sure some of these people don't have a clue what's going on. Most of them won't have a clue what's going on. Right? But they are the ones that implement the programs down at the bottom. And then you have the other ones that get into political office, right? So now you have the groundswell at the bottom and the political office at the top, and we get squeezed out in the middle. And we can't allow that to happen. Just when I found out that there was this many Muslims in Fort McMurray, it blew my mind. What the hell? Why would I come from a warm Middle Eastern country and want to go to Fort McMurray for? They're building staging areas basically.
Well, they get free welfare.
Well, they get free welfare, and apparently we're I guess what you and I should do is we should start up a trailer company ASAP, because the government's going to need a lot of heated trailers for the winter to house the Muslims while the people are still living on the street in Canada. British Columbia is getting bad, man. I mean, we lived out there, and it was a beautiful place, and And the only homeless you saw was down on Hastings Street in Vancouver, but most of that was druggies. And but now you're moving out into the Fraser Valley, and into like Abbotsford and Pitt Meadows and places like this, and you have homeless camps set up for white people, and at the same time you have signs going up, please don't bring your dog near us because dogs are filthy and we're Muslims, and I mean it's a total shakedown going on. The chaos
I'm gonna purchase more dogs.
Well, yeah, I got an idea on something,
and pigs. I'm gonna get pigs.
Well, speaking of pig, I had some bacon for breakfast with Liza, and it was some fine pig. I don't understand. I hope I didn't offend the young Muslim people that were sitting at another table, because my bacon I didn't shield it from their eyes, right? I should have had a shield up by my plate so they didn't witness what I was chewing on.
Well, let's go back to square one here. As you again discussed last night on your show on Revolution Radio, the white boys came over here to get away from the tyranny.
Yep.
And we became a first-class world nation. Now, we left what those guys are coming over to grab is what we built.
Yeah.
And what are we going to become if we allow them to continue at the rate we're allowing it? We're going to become a third world nation again.
That's the plan. Isn't the only hope for the planet is that the industrialized nations collapse? Isn't our responsibility to help bring that about? Or strong? And that's exactly the game plan. Okay? And if you don't stand up, you're going to find yourself living in a third world country. And the sad part is you're going to be living in an economic basket case while the internationals are pulling all your resources out of here. So it's double bad. Okay, we're going to lose control of our resources. Not that we ever had control of them, but we're going to lose it completely. And you're going to be shoved into cities, and they will take over the rest of the country. And that's not what we built. That wasn't the purpose of it, right? It was a purpose so that we would manufacture what we required, grow what we required. Basically, I think the idea in the beginning was an independent nation, but there's nothing independent about our nation because they pulled us into the everybody's interdependent. In other words, nobody can stand alone. And if you can't stand alone, then you ain't going to stand. And so we're going down the tubes. But as Liza and I was discussing at breakfast, I was talking about your son and a few other young people, and she even notices that the young people are starting to get it. And we got to put the ones that have some knowledge together with the young people, and then we go to work and get something done. But as far as the guys are concerned, I don't know what happened to them. I really don't know. Is it the fluoride? Is it the GMOs? Is it the vaccinations? I don't know what the hell it is. But these are not the men as men were in the past. If you threatened a family or a town or a nation, the guys would stand up. Now everything's being threatened, and you don't hear a peep out of the guys. You don't hear nothing. So, take your cue from the ladies, guys. Why are your ladies so pissed off? You better ask them. And you better step up beside them. Because if we ain't together, we ain't going to be around long. I mean, we're fighting that. We're fighting. This is a big fight. Like when you talk about a war, I mean, they don't give a damn, right? The police are on the side of the immigrants. The government's on the side of the immigrants. The military's on the side of the immigrants. So, they're all guilty of treason against the nation, which is the people. They're all against you and I and the ones that built this place. So who's left? Who's left to fight back? You're not going to get help from the military. You're not going to get help from the police. You're not going to get help from the churches. You're not going to get help from the politicians. So who's that leave?
They're all bribed with our money, Ron.
With our debt.
So they have no morals. Like I got to support my family. Well, the government's giving me $100,000 a year plus paid vacation for 2 months out of the year. Right. And I'd never have to worry about anything after I reach 65.
Right. And so, if I do shoot you,
do I want to stand up and be a man, or do I take the money? Oh, I'll just take the money.
Well, that's fine. You take the money. There's only so many of them, and there's a hell of a lot more than us. So, the moral side stands up, the amoral side lays down. It's just the way it is.
Here in my town, that's that boat's upside down, buddy.
Well, you're the only English-speaking person left in Kingston, I think, aren't you? Or maybe
about 70% of my town work for the government.
Yeah.
So, what's 30% going to do against 70%?
Well, that's in your particular town, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, overall, they went out of their way to take control of the towns and the country by building this huge bureaucracy, right? Which is that, the New Despotism. If you haven't read the New Despotism, it's online, it's free, and it was written in 1928 or 9 by a top justice out of England, warning of this very thing, which came out of France, right? And it's all about the bureaucracy. It's the Sovietization, which is the bureaucracy. Okay? And all you got to do is look around. If you pay any attention at all, you will find that all of these things that the government creates, all these bureaucracies, are all arm's length of the government. So while the government creates them, the government can't tell them what to do. So they're bodies unto themselves, and they can make their own rules, regulations, and laws. You can take the SPCA, you take the CAS, you take the OEB, you take the Milk Marketing Board, you take all of these structures that were made legal through the legislature, but at the same time, they're outside the reach of the legislature that created them. So they're not responsible. And they just keep layering this up and layering it up and layering it up. So you can bitch and complain at your politicians all you want. They'll say, well, we didn't put this in place. Well, take it down. Well, no, we don't have the authority to take it down. Right? So you get pissed off and you vote them out. The next crew comes in and builds some new bureaucracies, new boards, and you get pissed off at them. You say, why don't you tear these other things down that are causing harm? Oh, well, we can't. The way it was structured, we can't do it. So all this government is doing is building this layered up bureaucracy that you apparently can't do anything about. And they just keep growing it. and you're not going to have anything. They're going to take you down. So somebody's going down. Once you figure that out, okay, who's going down, us or them? Now we pay, like you said, Chris, we pay for their wages, we pay for the bureaucracies, we pay for their holidays, we pay for everything. So these people that are getting paid more money than you are, and you're busting your ass working, you're paying their wages, you're paying for their houses, you're paying for their vacations, you're paying for their children's education, because nobody in the bureaucracy produces anything except hurt. So we're paying to be taken down. We're paying them to take us down. Now, how stupid are we? So somebody's going down, and we better make a decision pretty damn quick who it's going to be. Is it going to be us who built the nation? Or is it going to be those that are determined to tear the nation down? And I do believe before this is over, we're going to go get the country back. I mean, they're setting up to take your bank accounts. They're setting up to take all of your investment money. They're setting up to take your retirement money. Okay? They're going to clean your freaking clocks. And they're going to make you 100% dependent upon those that hurt you. And people are out there defending them, which makes no sense at all. None. You know, the schools are teaching the kids you can't be a bully. They have a no-touch policy because that's how bullying begins. Well, who's bullying who here? Right? The ones that are telling you not to bully are the ones that are telling you to lay down because they don't want you to stand up. They don't want you to stand up to the bully, which is the bureaucracy. They're teaching the kids specifically never to stand up. And they taught at least 2 generations that became before the kids in school today the same thing.
You know, my son's going to be on your show next Sunday, right?
Is it next Sunday?
Next Sunday. I've decided.
I'm going to see if I can't find Little. I don't even know what her real name is. She was 14 or 15 when she did that talk up in Owen Sound, Ontario, that I filmed about calling out the global warming thing. And she was just starting grade 9. She was 14. Yeah, she would have been about 14 when she went into grade 9.
14 years old. Yes, she was.
And she did a brilliant thing, did her own research, and nailed it. And so I'm going to get a hold of Doug, because if Christian's coming on next Sunday, I'm going to try and get a hold of Doug and see if I can't find out where she's at now, because I think it'd be a good chat for the two of them, because she's probably early 20s now, and it would be an interesting conversation between the two of them, because when she broke out was basically where Kristen is now.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, and she went through hell in grade 9. I mean, she went through absolute hell. The teachers basically told the other kids to shun her. You know, like when we talked, and she said, I walked down, you know, I asked her, how is it in school? Because this is at the height of the Al Gore nonsense with the movie and everything. And she said, you know, I walk down the hall and they look at me like I got 3 heads, and students cross the hallway not to get too close to me, right? Because they're told not to get too close to me.
Yeah, but here's the deal, Ron. You're talking about men standing up?
Yeah. Because
we got all kinds of women doing our job for us.
Well, I mean, that was a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah. So now I've got a young man that's standing up with his shoulders high. Mm-hmm. And he's a tough little boy, too, by the way, physically. He walks down the hall. Nobody bothers him.
Well, he must be a tough little guy, because I remember I was talking to you one night off air, and he come in, and you said something to him, and he said, lay down, Dad, or I'll kick your ass for you, right? So he's 15, but he's a little Paul Bunyan, eh?
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. No jokes.
No. I mean, we it's all important, and this is what we were discussing at
but
breakfast.
That's well, what I'm trying to. The point I was trying to make is there is men still out there ready to fight the good.
Oh yeah. They just need a push, right? Why don't I get Liza over here to come and say hi to Chris? And
right.
Everybody knows her in the audience. You can just yammer away because this is going to pick it up, right? Here's Liza.
Okay.
Right?
Hi, Chris. Chris was saying that he wants to hang out with rock stars.
Say what?
He said he wish he was me because I'm hanging out with a rock star.
Who said
He
that?
just said to me on Skype, Chris.
Oh, what a... See how tough the ladies are and how wussy the guys are? Holy lifting, man. That's bad news. You picking this up, Chris?
A little bit.
Huh?
Well, I told Liza, I said it must be nice to hang out with a rock star.
Well, I don't think that's happening. But but I think it's very important that because we were discussing this at breakfast. Anyways, if you're ever in Kincardine, Gene's Family Restaurant makes a pretty decent breakfast. We got real knives.
Advertisement?
Well, yeah, we got real knives, real forks, real plates. I got real bacon, and it was all well and good.
And Michael's milk.
Actually, I may have another guy coming on the show. I'm glad you brought that up. I saw a meme. It said, "Where does milk come from in Russia?" And they had a Russian winter hat on a cow, and the meme was, "Where does milk come from in Russia?" And it says, "Mosque cows." And so I thought that's kind of cute. So I said, "Where does wholesome milk come from in Ontario?" Put that on top of it, and I said from grass-fed cows that are treated with respect, right? So I threw that into Michael's support Michael Schmidt Facebook, and a guy left a message there, and he lives a couple of miles away from one of the lakes I used to swim in, Golden Lake, when I was a kid up in the Ottawa Valley, and I said, "Oh, geez, you're from up there." I said, "I'd really like to get a hold of the guy from Pembroke who's being hauled into court the same as Michael now, right?" Because this guy left me a message and said, "Do you have access to healthy milk?" So I think it looks like he's actually the guy that's going to court that left the message. So I want to try and get him on the show, maybe get Michael on the show to try and do a comparison of what they're doing up in the Ottawa Valley to this guy as to what they're doing down here to Michael. So I think this is the first time this guy's getting hauled into court. And they did the same thing to him as they did to Michael. Some woman called up and said she was looking for some raw milk, and could she get some from her to try out? And so these guys are honest, moral men and women on these farms, and then you got these government agents phoning up, pretending, oh, my daughter has asthma or something, or I got bad bones, and I heard the raw milk was good for you. And so he sold her some raw milk, and turns out she's a government agent, right? So now that, and you should be able to sue these people or take these people to court who are pretending to be something they're not, deceiving the good moral men and women to produce good food, and deceive them into believing that they're actually someone that cares about health, and then coming and buying the stuff and then turning around and busting them. So I'm kind of curious as what's going on in Pembroke. He said he's going in, I don't know, it was next Monday or whatever, he's getting hauled into court. And the government has no shortage of your money to spend beating up people that are trying to get you good food so that you'll be healthy and have a strong mind, and you're paying for that shit. You're paying for the government to do everything in its power to withhold from you, the public, healthy food. And people got to get on side with these people because they're going to take them down, and you're not going to have any food. Because 90% of what you buy, 99% of what you buy in the grocery store ain't worth the powder that blow it to hell.
Well, I told you, Ron, I'm working in, many of the listeners won't know it, but it doesn't matter. I'm working in Sunbury right now, right? And it's cottage country. Well, not cottage country, it's farm country. Do I still got you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. When we turn the corner off the main road, we've got nothing but canola, corn, canola, corn. And the house that I'm redoing, the old farmhouse I'm rebuilding right now, he leased his land to a
big agri companies.
All it is canola for miles around.
Mm-hmm.
My son says, Dad, I don't feel well. My son works with me.
Yeah.
And my son said, Dad, haven't been feeling well lately. And I said, it may have something to do with the pesticides they're spraying on this canola all around us. And it's literally all around us.
Well, it's true. And it's quite possible that that's what's bothering, because I remember watching a video from South America some years back, and it was all small villages and stuff, and people just getting along with each other. And then the big agri companies came in, and the Monsanto came in and took up all the farmland. And these people are literally living in the fields because they plowed up and went around their houses. And these people are sick as a dog, right? Their children are sick. The old people are sick. And these people were healthy as hell up until Monsanto rolled in there and started growing the canola and the corn and spraying the shit out of it. And these people are now ill. You know, it's the same thing they did in Mexico. They drove the farmers off the land. You know, we have the government's always talking about diversity. We have no diversity left in our food system, right? You know, it's a mono food system. You got one brand of corn. You got one brand of everything. You know, you got one breed of cow. You got one breed of pig, and there you should grow just like what they did here in Ontario. The farmer down, actually, she's fairly close to you. She's not that far out of Marmora that Michael and them got involved with, that was growing heritage sheep. And the government came in and demanded that the sheep be slaughtered because they may or may not have a disease. And the only way we can tell if they have a disease, if we check their brains, only we can check their brains if they're dead.
Yeah, it turns out none of them had a disease.
Exactly. It's the same thing as the farmer that Enos was telling me about, the 140 acres to graze cattle on, and then spent the money to fence the 140 acres, got his cattle in there, and then the government shows up and says, you know, there may or may not be a plant on this field or on this 140 acres that's endangered. Now, we don't have any proof it's there, but it could be there. Therefore, you got to vacate your cattle off of this land you just bought. And he ain't got no cattle on that land now. I mean, this is getting out of hand. But when they start putting those fields in, you see, the fields used to be nobody that I know of, except these organic farmers, lay fallow any fields. Like when I was growing up, there was always a field laid fallow so that it could rejuvenate itself. But now with the quantity of sprays and pesticides and GMOs they got, they'll take that crop off of those fields this year, and next year they'll plant the exact same crop, the next year the same crop, next year the same crop. They just keep spraying more shit at it. And you've got poison land now. And you can't grow good food in poison. So we got all kinds of work to do around here. And if your son's not feeling well, I would be, I wouldn't doubt for a minute. I don't have any proof of it. But then again, the government doesn't have any proof there's plants in the field which you guy can't graze cattle on anymore. It's a hell of a job we got ahead of us, because you see, we can't feed ourselves in this country. And that's a fact. We cannot feed ourselves in this country. The way this is set up right now, this country cannot feed the population, which is, when you think about it, absolutely ridiculous. Which means, as Rockefeller, or not Rockefeller, but Kissinger said, control the food, control the people. And that's exactly what they've done.
Well, you can control the water, control the people. I mean, I'm drinking fluoridated water right now.
Yum, yum.
Yeah. I mean, and I have no choice. So
this idea of
water,
drinking...
you control the people. Control the food, you control the people. And they got it. They got both of them.
Well, that's what I said.
Control the environment, you got the people. What we do through carbon taxes, you control the people.
Well, yeah, I said this.
Freaking money off of this.
When I was a kid, we used to watch all these low budget B movies, right? And I used to love these old movies where you always had a mad scientist, and the scientists, by the way, are mad. They're out of their friggin' minds. But you always had these B movies, where the scientists say, if I could control this, if I could control the weather, I can control the world. If I can control the food, I can control the world. If I can control this, I can control the world. And it's like all of these B movie nutcase scientists got together and said, well, if we can control the education and the politics and the religion and the food and the water and the weather and yada, 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 we got them. And that's exactly what they're doing. I get so sick and tired of somebody, well, the scientist said, and I said, yeah, well, the science is bullshitting you. Well, yeah, but they're experts. No, you're an idiot for believing that they're experts, right? They're con men. Absolute con men. I love that thing I saw about this hurricane, I said, wait a minute. The hurricane is like, 50 miles off of Florida, and they can't figure out where the sucker's going to hit. But they can tell you what the temperature will be in 100 years. Like, give it just the tiniest bit of thought. And your brain's got to say, well, they can't do that. Well, of course they can't do that. But for some reason, through all their constant propaganda, way too many people believe what they're being told. And one lady that I was fighting windmills with, and she was, I think she's fairly depressed now because they did finally surround her place with windmills, and the windmill group she was attached to, which I called out way long time ago, as a controlled opposition group, funded by government, when she asked these people to come and help her stop this wind farm that was going to get up way too close to her house, nobody showed up, right? Which really busted her back because she was a firecracker. But what really bothered me is both her, or at least I think both of them, went to Agra University or Agra College, and they were taught that GMOs were extremely important because if we didn't have the GMOs, that masses of the population would die. Not they always make it backwards. Not if we can feed everybody GMOs, masses of the population will die, but if we don't have GMOs, masses of the population will die. And here's a woman that busted her ass on this windmill fight. And when I put something in somewhere as she read about GMOs, and she wrote me back and he said, no, Ron, you don't get it, right? GMOs are very important because it feeds the people. But this is what they were taught in university, and they believed it because they were farmers. And that's unfortunate because now, people, this is what they've done. These people believe global warming is real. These people believe it's not real. These people believe fracking is good. These people believe fracking is not good. These people believe renewable energy is good. These people believe it's not. And so on. It doesn't matter what subject you take. It splits the people. And the people don't seem to realize that the same groups are funding it all. All of it. Well, no, this is good, that's bad. No, it's all bad. It's blanket bad. But they have the people fighting against each other, just like they do in politics and religion and everything else. This idea, because people have been fed this idea ever since I was a little kid, with them stupid UNESCO boxes raising money for the hungry kids in the third world. None of that money ever went there. They just fill in their pockets with the money, and then they turn around and they use the money to do data sheets and manipulate you further. So, you know what happened in India when they were all small subsistence farmers and that, and they were getting along fine. And then Monsanto come in with the promise of bigger, better crops and all this kind of stuff, and you can raise yourself up out of being just a small farmer, and took away the right of the Indian farmer to produce what he wanted. So all the diversity in the seed base in India gets wiped out. It gets replaced by the GMOs. And now you got to buy their sprays. You got to buy their seed because you don't have the seed. The plants don't reproduce seed. And all of a sudden, the farmers find themselves up to and past their eyeballs in debt, and they start committing suicide.
Well, yeah, I think it's 100,000 to date that have committed suicide.
Right.
I mean, they breed like bunny rabbits over there. So, 100,000 probably sounds like small change over there. However,
but has anybody shown any remorse?
Okay, who's going first, you or me?
You.
Well, the children that survived their fathers that have committed suicide have burnt leg problems from walking through the fields that their father left for them to try and deal with.
Right.
So, you can't, if you wear a pair of shorts and you walk through a canola field, right, for a mile, and then come back, you're going to have to go to the hospital because your legs are going to be burnt. And that's why a lot of them realize we have issues here, because this stuff is so toxic you can't walk through it without, if you wore pants, you might have some safety, but if you're wearing a pair of shorts and a pair of sneakers, the last thing you ever want to do is walk through a canola field.
Well, they did basically the same thing here to the young, the children of the farmers here when they took them to university. They wiped. I mean, the whole plan was to wipe out the family farm, and it's the same thing in India, and it's the same thing everywhere. Get complete and total control of the food system. And when the farmers here, they were running, 100, 200 acres, whatever. There was a farm, or there was a farmhouse every little ways down the road, and it was a community, and they understood. They helped each other. When something went bad, they were there. Your tractor broke down. Well, we'll get in there with our tractors, and we'll get in here and help you fix your tractor, how it's supposed to be, and that would have been the way it was in India, And so what they did here was they took the children of the farmers and they sent them off to university in Guelph to teach the kids how to farm. Well, wait a minute. Your family's been farming this land for how many generations? But now you're going to university to be taught how to farm, right? The new farming methods, which are your GMOs and your sprays and your chemicals and all this kind of horse shit. And then they went back to the farm and they explained to their parents, who thought their kids were nuts, that this is how you have to farm now. And in order for them to get the farmers, the farmers said, we can't afford to do crap like what you're talking about. This costs a fortune. So then they inflated the price of farmland artificially. So now all of a sudden, the farmers who owned their farms, and I read all kinds of documents of this where they put plants in, and the guy would go and buy a big new tractor and a new truck and all this kind of stuff, and say to his farm friends, like, why are you using that little tractor? Why don't you get a big tractor? Well, how the hell do you afford a big tractor, right? Well, you have all this equity in your land. So the banks will just give you what you want to move into the new farming methods because you got so much equity. So you don't have to buy things cash, and that's how farmers used to do it, is stay out of debt. But their bright kids came back from the university and tell their parents that they won't survive if they don't farm the new way. So they go out and they borrow against the land, and then they crashed it. Once they got these farmers tied into the debt load, then they crushed them with the high interest rates of the late 70s, early 80s. Now these farmers who had no debt are up to their eyeballs in debt, and they were borrowing money at 4% or whatever, and all of a sudden it's 23%. That's when you had all that farm aid and that, when they were just pulling the farms, right? And to turn it into mass agriculture, agribusiness. And farming used to be a way of life. Then they turned it into a business. And the boys running the business want control of the land and control of the food, of which they got. So we when I see farmers like Michael and Paul and some of these other guys I met who specifically took the time to allow the land to cleanse itself so they could actually grow real food. These are the heroes. Okay, these are the heroes. These are the guys that have stepped up to the plate. These are the guys that are being pounded into the ground.
You said something that you told me never to say.
What?
Hero.
Yeah, I know that slipped out.
Ha
ha ha ha. But these are the guys that you need to be listening to and following and helping. These are the people that care about your health. These are the people that care about the land. The government is out there running farmers off the land, telling them that they can't sell good food, yet they're selling you on this idea of sustainability. How the hell is your land sustainable if you're poisoning it? You know, you gotta put this puzzle together. Oh, I want to be sustainable. Well, then go walk through a field of canola in shorts and see how it works out for you, right? I mean, it's beyond ridiculous.
No,
you know, our forefathers would puke if they seen what happened to the land, what happened to the food system.
Ron, it's to the point. Like I've told you privately, this is beyond the pale here. I mean, everything is plastic. You know, everybody's buying bottled water.
Yeah, who in the hell wants to drink water, fluoridated water, out of a plastic freaking bottle? Give me a break.
Well, I do right now, but that's a story for another day. But you know, and then you're supposed to get rid of them. But what people don't realize is I'm a contractor. And when I get my shingles for a roof, or I get my insulation, it's all wrapped in plastic.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, I try my darndest to keep it to recycle. The other 99% of contractors don't give a fuck.
Well, no, I remember
the
very
bin with everything else and let it deal with itself.
Like when I had a construction company, we put on hundreds and hundreds of roofs, and it was always wrapped in paper, always.
Yeah.
And just when we were shutting down,
used to be in the old days, it was hemp.
Yeah. But it was at the very end of when we were shutting down, the plastic shingle bags started showing up. And I remember, you know, the cranes up there, or the lift trucks up there, loading the roof, and we're pulling the shingles off the skids, and I'm going, what the hell is this about? I remember the first bundle I picked up that was wrapped in plastic, my head just going, what the hell is this? You know, I mean, we put our roof on. You know, they run average 45, 60 bundles average. So now I got 45 to 60 plastic bags. That's on one roof.
Yeah.
So how many roofs are going on every day in this country? Multiply that by 45 or 60 bags, and you got a hell of a mess. Now you got the government on the one side say, oh, plastic's bad. Well, everything that we get is in plastic. You know, you used to go in the store. You used to go in the store. You need a few screws in that or whatever, or some little thing. They just put it in a paper bag and you take it home. Now it's in these great big plastic containers, and you go, what's with all the plastic? Meanwhile, you got all the environmentalists and the kids and that have been indoctrinated. They go, oh, plastic's bad. Well, you're drinking out of a plastic bottle full of fluoride. Well, yeah, but that's different. How's that different? You know, like I miss my milk. I really miss that. When I was a kid, our milk would show up on the front step of the house with a cardboard tab on it. That was all that was. There was no lid on it. It was just a plastic tab fit in on the top of the in the top of the milk bottle. They're all glass, and so you use it, and you put your empties out on the step. The milkman comes along and puts you doing some new ones. Takes the empties. They're washed, and everything, and then refilled. And you know, this whole idea of being sustainable. We used to be sustainable. You know, kids go, oh, and they're teaching the kids, you know, your parents wrecked the planet. Well, parents didn't wreck anything. It was sustainable. And the people that are selling you on the sustainable are the very fossil fuel oil boys that are telling you not to use oil or fossil fuels. I don't know how people miss all this stuff. I have no idea how they miss it, but they do. You know, that you can qualify anything, anywhere, anytime, I suppose. But here's a story. Can I just want to get off of that stuff for a minute. This kills me, because this is in my neck of the woods. Now, we have a counselor named Craig Gammy, who's up Wyerton, I think. I think he's Wyerton. South Bruce Peninsula, which is Wyerton. Meeting in Wyerton. And this guy's 67 years old. And he got into the local council. And this is what I'm telling you about why one in a council is going to get run over. Okay? You know, people say, well, I don't want to run, but Jim or Sally's running, and we'll support them. Well, it doesn't matter how much they support them because they only got one vote. And the CAO city councilors set the agenda, and they're specifically trained how to implement the globalist agenda without the general population catching wind of it. So Gammy gets in, and he's been in the news several times in the past, and he's trying to bring some truth forward, and they finally got him. And he's been charged. The town of South Bruce Peninsula. I'm going to try and get this guy on the show. Councillor Craig Gammy has been charged with assault and breach of trust. A Bruce Peninsula, Ontario Provincial News release said today. At approximately 11:26 a.m. on September the 6th, Bruce Peninsula OPP investigated an assault which allegedly occurred on September the 5th on George Street in the town of South Bruce Peninsula. As a result of the investigation, Bruce Peninsula OPP arrested 67-year-old Craig Gammy of South Bruce Peninsula. Mr. Gammy was charged by a public officer with breach of trust and with assault of Jay Kirkland, 55, deputy mayor of South Bruce Peninsula. The accused was held for a bail hearing, which occurred today, then was released on an undertaking to a justice of the peace. The victim of South Bruce Peninsula suffered minor injuries as a result of the assault. The charge document said Mr. Gammy, on or about September the 5th, did, being an official town councillor, commit a breach of trust in connection with the duties of his office by assessing documents without authorization, contrary to Section 122 of the Criminal Code. In an email today, Media Relations Community Safety Officer of the Grey County OPP said Mr. Gammy's next court date is September 21st. At 9:30, anyone with information may assist is asked to call Bruce Peninsula OPP. Now, what they're trying to do is, and they even got the what do you call it, Crime Stoppers involved in here. They offer a $2,000 reward if you can help hang Councillor Gammy. And this is what's going on in local councils all over the place. Someone who smells a fraud, someone who is getting put in the back bench, so to speak, someone that the rest of the council is doing their damnedest, and the media is doing their damnedest to keep a lid on what's going on. And then you have the police involved in it. And there should have been no charges, likely. But the OPP, or the police's job is to protect the corporation. And these councils, these local municipalities, are corporations. And the corporation signs a contract with the police. So now the police do as they're told in order to protect the fraud, which is destroying your communities. So when a guy like Gammy steps up and wants to say, hey, they're on him like flies on a shit pile. And then they spin this out that this guy is nuts, evil, a problem. He's a problem, all right, because he's trying to lift the lid off of what's happening to us at the local level. And that's why I keep pounding on people. There's no point in bitching and complaining about the Prime Minister or the Premier or anybody else, because the only place that you can possibly get a voice is at the local level. But when you go one guy in or one gal in, they're going to get hammered. So the only way we can possibly make change is to get control of these local damn councils, which means you got to run enough people to make sure that you got majority vote. Now, this guy's obviously a moral man who cares about his people, but he's got the lawyers, the corporate lawyers up his ass. He's got the mayor and the deputy mayor up his ass, got the police force crushing him, got him dragged into court now. And there ain't a damn thing. I mean, they're just going to run him out. And then they will get another vetted a-hole who's on side with all of this stuff to take his place. And now you got no voice in there. So we got to get control of these councils. I'm going to keep saying this because in Ontario here, we got the municipal council elections are coming, or the municipal elections are coming in 2018 in the fall, which basically gives us 1 year. And a year goes by real fast. It gives us 1 year to mount a defense of our municipalities. And the only one that can possibly defend your municipality is you. So I think Wiarton has 5 councillors. So you run 15 people. And you get on the doors. You set up your blog. You educate your people. So come election time, you got 15 people that know what the hell's going on, know what the real issues are, know how to explain those issues to those at the door. And if you run 15 people, you can crush this nonsensical message that's being sent out all the time, because people are asking questions now. This is the perfect time. You run those 15, I'll guarantee you're going to get at least 4 in. Or in this case, 5, you only need 3 in to control the council. So instead of Gammy stepping up and saying, this sucks, and the rest of the council going, oh, you're crazy, man. You're one of those conspiracy theory guys. Don't listen to Gammy. Now you got the 3, you got control. If the other 2 goes, oh, no, these people are nuts. Well, now you got 3 people to say, would you shut up, please? Right? That's the whole difference. That's the only thing that's going to make a difference. And it's not like it's not doable. It's perfectly doable. The price in Ontario to run for local council as a councillor is $100. And the price to run for mayor is $200. You can't get a better value for your dollar. It's impossible. You know, you got a real chance to win. You go spend $100 on lottery tickets, your chances of winning are like basically 0. You put your $100 down here, you got a very real chance of winning. And you have a very real chance of making a difference. But if we don't run, okay, I guarantee you, just like the Sikh that's running for the NDP leadership, if we don't run, they will. And then your city council or your town council is going to be full of people that are foreign to you, pushing an agenda that's completely foreign to you. And you can complain about it, but there ain't nothing you can do about it because you're outside and they're inside. If we don't get inside, then they will be inside, which leaves us in a very weak position. So, you know, I'm going to try and get a hold of this Gammy guy and see if I can't get him on the show. It's no different what happened to Gammy, though. It's what happened to Michael Schmidt or this other farmer up in Pembroke, Ontario. Same thing. They come at you with the knives, man. Because one standing alone, they're going to take down. Because they don't want that message put out. Crush the messenger. Well, only if you don't have control of the place. Once you got control of the place, you're still going to have to deal with the lawyers, right? We're going to try and take you out. You're still going to have to deal with the CAOs. We're going to try and take you out. But the fact of the matter is you got a voice. The fact of the matter is you can speak to the public. You can explain to the public why their hydro bills are so high. You can explain to the public why their kids should not be getting vaccinated. Because everybody on those councils are telling kids, or telling the parents, make sure you get your child vaccinated. And that's the message that's being played out. So we need to change the message. And in order to change the message, you have to change the messenger. Simple as that. And then we can get something done. Otherwise, we're not going to get nothing done. You know, I've had people say, we should just go into local councils and shoot everybody. Well, that ain't really going to, it's not going to work, you know. This is, like I said, this is a spiritual, psychological war. And we have to use our smarts in order to win this war. Bitching and complaining and belly aching ain't never won a war. You got to engage in order to win a war, or you're going to get run over. You know, the British are not coming. They're here. I'm just saying that off of Paul Revere. Okay? They're here. They're inside the gates. And they're treasonous as hell against the people. So it only leaves the people. Like I said, the politicians ain't going to come to your service. The military ain't coming to your service. And it's very, very plain here from what's been going on with Michael and this particular council, that certainly the police ain't going to sit back and say, well, you know, it's not really what you'd call an assault. They do as they're told because they're hired. They're hired guns of the municipality. The municipality contracts with the police. Well, I don't like what the police did to this guy. Fine. What are you going to do? You can write a complaint, but who polices the police? The police. So your complaint ain't going nowhere. So if you're going to change the way the police operate, you got to get control of the local councils, because the local council is the one that contracts with the police. Now you're in control of the police. If you don't like the way the police are operating in your municipality, now you have the power to change the way the police are acting or operating in your particular neck of the woods. You can direct the police to go after the correct people. The way it is now, the police are directed to go after the good guys and protect the bad guys. Well, the good guys get control of the council. Now the good guys can direct the police to go get the bad guys. Otherwise, you know, we'll just sit on the sidelines and watch this continue to spiral down the toilet. You know, I'm sure a lot of people don't want to hear about running for local council, but I'm sorry. Unless you can come up with a better solution. Okay, once you have the council, you got the school board. You got the police. You can stop all this sustainable garbage nonsense that's coming into these local municipalities where a guy buys 140 acres to put his cattle in, and some jackass from the government comes along and says, well, there may be a plant in there, so you're going to have to vacate your cattle. You know, it's like we got a complaint. I hate that shit. Well, who's complaining? Well, we're not allowed to say. So you can't even prove you got a complaint. It's like saying to the farmer, well, you know, we got a call from Plant A, and Plant A feels its it's in jeopardy. And so they asked us to come out here to tell you move your cattle off the field. So is that ridiculous? But once you got control of council, you have some control. Because everything that goes on in your municipality is controlled by the corporation known as a municipality. So now you're in the driver's seat. It ain't going to be easy because you got your corporate lawyers who are there to guard against something like what I'm talking about happening. You got your CAOs that are specifically trained in how to take you down without you complaining too much about it. But once you have control, then you can expose this stuff. Now, Gammy's trying to expose some stuff, and they got, the knives are out after the guy. And all he's trying to do is doing what he believes he's supposed to do. He's obviously a moral man. It's the same as the councillor here who went to bat for a constituent, and then they called the lawyers in, the municipal lawyers, and they trashed the guy. And all he did was what he thought he was supposed to do, stand up for his constituents, but he was a lone voice, and everybody jumped him. And then they didn't pay him for his counseling duties for a period of time and said, basically, you do something stupid like that again, you're out of here. Now, he thought he was doing what he's supposed to do. He doesn't understand the whole thing's run by a bunch of Marxists. And it's about the corporation. It's not about the constituent, right? And so we need to step up to the plate. I mean, $100. I mean, you can have a lot of fun with this stuff. The people you're dealing with have extremely low IQs. The other counselors are dumber than a box of rocks. I mean, thoroughly stupid. They're vetted for their stupidity. They're vetted for their go along to get along attitude. They're vetted. They want people in there so when the real authority of the municipality, the CAO or the city manager, speaks, they all listen and they do as they're told. They don't question. Good little kids. And this is why we are where we are. And the only way we're going to get out of where we are is to reverse what's going on. And that means get control of these damn local councils. And I'm going to try hard to get Gammy on here because I know he's been in hot water before. And I know he's frustrated as hell. But he's not really playing it maybe the way he should be playing it because now he has the media, let's go get Gammy, right? Let's make this so negative against this guy that nobody wants to hear a damn thing he's got to say. He's the odd man out. He's the odd ball. He's a nutcase. He's a conspiracy theorist. Hell, the police arrested him. He was held for bail. Now he's in court. We need to get this guy off of council. And that's exactly what happened here. He walked into a trap. And I highly doubt he's going to survive it. He may. Depends how strong he is. Depends if he gets anybody on side with him. But if we don't stand up for each other, there's nobody else there who's going to stand up for us. It's us. Because everything you think should come to your assistance is driving you into the ground. So we know they're not coming to your assistance, so who's going to come to our assistance? That leaves who? Us. That's it. Us. And if we fail to do what is required of us, then we have absolutely no right whatsoever to complain about anything that happens to us. Silence is consent. Lack of engagement is consent. So we need to step up to the plate. It's that freaking simple. And it's the cheapest, it's the cheapest entertainment you're ever going to purchase. You know, don't look at it as a chore. Don't look at it as something that's difficult. It ain't difficult. There's nothing difficult about a municipal council. But for those who want to do something positive for their nation, which is the people, this is your opportunity to do something positive for your own. This is some way to start to turn the tables. Because if we don't turn the tables, they're going to run over us. They're going to slaughter us. Right? They're going to, I mean, just look at, they're pulling flags down, they're pulling statues down. I mean, you're watching revisionist history taking place right in front of your frickin' eyes. Okay, they're rebranding your nations. And we're just sitting there going, well, what's on TV tonight? Who's playing ball? Who signed the contract? And they did that purposely. You know, this is Rome again, folks. All roads lead to Rome. There's no damn difference in the Colosseums and the slaves. Work them, take all advantage of their labor, and then give them something to entertain themselves with the weekend down at the Colosseum. Only back in the Roman days, you didn't have to buy a ticket to get into the Colosseum. You weren't paying $6 for a beer or $12 for a beer. They were so happy that you were happy slaves. Here's some free entertainment. Have some food. Well, yeah, but they were slaves. Well, so were you. Where do you think the word municipality came from? Britain? No. Rome. And what did the police force of Rome do? Protect what? Rome, the corporation. And what are your police departments that you pay for here protecting? The corporation. And what is the corporation doing? It's bleeding you dry. You know, we were talking last night a little bit, and you say, you know, don't be surprised down the road here. I mean, it's just like they do in the condominiums. You bought a place, you think it's yours, and then you hang a Christmas wreath on your door or something. You say, oh, no, that's offensive. You can't do that. Well, it's my freaking door. Well, no, you don't really own the condominium. You just bought the right of enjoyment. But we get to write the rules, which is exactly the same as you saying, well, this is my property. It ain't your property. Property is an abstract concept, which is a legal thing, which is a piece of paper, has nothing to do with the land, has nothing to do with the buildings. You simply bought the right of enjoyment and the right to improve it, but you don't own it. The municipality has the right to write bylaws that attached to what you think is yours, and you say, well, you can't tell me to paint my door blue. Well, yeah, because I have it right here. They passed a bylaw. Didn't you complain about it or go to council to talk about it? Well, no, I didn't engage. Well, sorry, silence is consent. Now you're going to have to paint your door blue. I don't want a blue door. Well, if you don't paint your door blue, we'll send someone down here to paint it for you, and we'll bill you for it. Well, you can't do that. Actually, yeah, we can. And they may come up with some stupid rhetoric or logic of theirs, which is totally... Well, the scientists have studied this for a considerable time, and they have found that a blue door actually acts as a carbon sinkhole for CO2. And so that in order to save our environment, you need to paint your door blue. And if you don't paint your door blue, that means you don't care about the environment. And then all your neighbors are going to hate you. So either you paint the door blue because it's right here on a piece of paper. See the piece of paper? Piece of paper is authority. Now paint your door blue. And the neighbors will go, some guy was by here yesterday telling me I got to paint my door blue. Yeah, my place too. Well, I don't want to paint my door, do I? But if we don't, they're going to hire somebody, which costs a lot of money, to paint it for us. Yeah, I heard that. Well, I don't want to go there. I guess we better go get some blue paint. And this is, you know, it may sound silly, but this is the same scenario they use over and over and over and over and over again. And nobody seems to get it. They're going to force you to upgrade your homes to the newest that they're going to design standard for sustainable homes, which is going to cost you a fortune. But they have the right to come on to into your property, so-called property, and tell you that you're going to upgrade, because they are passing laws now that they can send their pencil necks. We're here to do an environmental audit on your home. I don't want one. It doesn't matter. It's here on a piece of paper, so move aside, son. And we're going to go through your home, and these are the standards it has to be brought up to, and this is coming. It's all wrote down. They're already starting to move this stuff in Alberta. And they're going to assess your home. Well, I just put windows in 10 years ago. Yes, but we've upped the standards, so those windows don't count anymore. You're going to have to replace new windows and doors. And you're going to have to get this kind of a hot water tank over that. I just put one in 3 months ago. I'm sorry, it doesn't meet the standards. You have to upgrade your insulation. I did that, but it's not the standard. And then you call these guys in, you get an estimate of $40,000-$50,000 that you can't afford to stick in your house. But it's now the law. You have to do it. You say, I can't afford this. Well, that's fine. We'll pay for it. Who'll pay for it? Well, the municipality, because we're concerned about the environment. Well, where the hell are you getting the money? Don't worry about that. We'll pay for it. But they've already made their deals with the bankers, of which the municipality gets its broker fee, basically. And then that tax heads out in the derivatives market. And people say, well, if I spend this much money on my house, I have to recoup that amount of money. My house won't be saleable anymore. No. You can still sell your house for what you want to sell it for without adding the cost, because it goes with the property. So you sell your house for $200,000 or whatever the number is, and the $40,000 or $50,000 is not attached to the price of the house. It's attached to the tax of the house. So you sell your house for $200,000, the new owner is now liable for the upgrade. And this is part and parcel of how they're going to start driving people out of their homes. Like I said, forever. They're not going to come and jackboot your door down. Okay? They're going to make it so impossible for you to deal with the debts in that you just throw up your hands and say, I'm going to go rent something. And the whole idea is all of your homes are going to become corporate owned, because something has to take the place of the government. Business seems to be the obvious entity to do it. And then we will all be rent slaves, because, of course, private property is a form of social injustice. That's out of the 76 Human Settlements Conference in Vancouver, that if you own a home, you can gain from it, and if I don't own a home, I can't, and therefore that is a form of social injustice. Therefore, what is not sustainable? Private property. Now, if that don't get your back up, I don't know what the hell will. If the fact that they're coming after your homes doesn't inspire you enough to go and put $100 down to run for local council to try to put the brakes on this crap, then you've just proven Brzezinski correct. 2.5, 3 generations will make you so stupid that you ain't going to be able to stand up. Now, thankfully, he's dead, but we're not. So we need to step up to the plate. All of their plans are written down, and we just sit there silently because nobody's telling you what your plans are. You got to go read it. And if people were reading all the stuff that's written down, they'd be madder than hell, I would hope. Most people never see what they wrote down. We wrote it down. We told you what we were going to do to you, and you didn't stand up, so you consented. That's how they operate in the legal world, and we have to change it. So I'm going to try and get a hold of Mr. Gammy here, and see if we can't get him on the show, and hopefully I can get that milk farmer from Pembroke on the show. And next Sunday, this I'm really excited about next Sunday, and I hope Christian shows up for it. I think that will be brilliant. A 15-year-old young man saying, we're getting it. I think that will be absolutely brilliant. Because if a 15-year-old can come on the air and tell you that you got a responsibility, you looked the other way too long, and this is the future that you're leaving for us, then we have a duty to him and his friends and his generation to help them do what we failed to do. So I'm really looking forward to next Sunday. I mean, I think this is going to be brilliant, and I'm going to do my damnedest to find the 14-year-old girl. She was 14 years at the time that called out global warming for the fraud it is. Now, if a 14-year-old girl can do it, and a 15-year-old young man can come on the show and say, hey, you know what? Then what's our excuse? We don't have one. We have no excuse whatsoever not to do what needs to get done. We just got to turn it into fun somehow. Enjoy it. Enjoy the fact that you have now the power to put a stop to this garbage. We have to build our line here. Call it a trench, call it the spike sticks they used to put up to the invaders. Call it whatever you want, but we got to put a front up here somewhere. I mean, we don't want to be a nation that just said, well, the invaders go, well, Jesus, that was easy. That would break my heart, that this beautiful, beautiful land that we call Canada gets run over and taken away from us, which was given to us by our forefathers, without a whimper. That's so sad, and I don't want to see that happen, and I don't think it's going to happen. I do believe that we will rise up to this. We just got to get engaged. So, I don't know, Chris. I'm hoping Christian shows next Sunday. Have I still got you there? I don't know if I still got Chris or not. I might put him to sleep. Says he's here, but if he is, speak up. Anyways, what do we got here? It's 1:45. And until Chris shows up or wakes up, I'm gonna put this in. I mean, this guy looks this Gammy guy looks like a gentleman completely out of his environment. But at least he stepped forward and did what he thought he needed to do. So I'll put that in there, and And then we have this other thing that people are talking about now for the last little bit, and that is that, everybody for years and years and years and years and years have been pushing this, make weed legal. And it's just like I'm telling Michael about his milk. You don't want your milk legalized, right? And all these people go, oh boy, they're going to legalize weed. No, they're going to take control of the market. And now people are bitching and complaining that the Ontario government is doing, in fact, exactly that, taking control of the market. Now, just like the pasteurized milk that you buy in the store, which is junk, because they feed the animals food they're not supposed to be eating. They needle the hell out of the animals. I was quite surprised when I found out that these cows can't even go into heat on their own. They have to be shoved into heat through needles because all of their energies are directed to milk production, and these cows only live on average 42 months, whereas a normal cow live 16 years or longer. And people talk about animal rights and that. Well, the milk you're drinking is coming from abused animals. And it ain't good for you. Now, you can bet your bottom dollar that the weed that the government now has control of is not going to be the best weed. Absolutely not the best weed. I mean, this is just a continuation of the fluoride thing. This is a continuation of the making people malleable so that they can control you easier. But, when people thought, boy, weed's going to be legal, it's only legal. It wasn't legal. It was illegal. They finally put them in a position, them and their friends, where they could make a lot of money and charge a lot of taxes. And so now it's legal. But only their weed's legal, just like only their milk is legal. And if you try to grow weed or you try to produce milk outside of their system, they're going to crush your ass. So you're probably going to see more people end up in jail now that weed's being legalized than prior to it was being legalized, because now you're looked upon as a threat. You're cutting in on their business, just like they view Michael Schmidt and these other raw milk farmers as cutting in on their business. And they don't like it. And they will come at you hard. And I don't know why people seem to be getting this idea on the pot now, that this all of a sudden doesn't smell so good. But it's already done, folks. Nothing you can do about it now, right? You should have paid attention before, but you got caught up in the rhetoric and the propaganda, and it got you one more time. It's just a bunch of templates they got sitting on their shelves, and they pull the templates and they put in a different set of words or a different product, and you get taken one more time. And we just need to sharpen up. The upside is they're coming at us so hard, so fast, that even the dumbest of the dumb oh, Jesus. Okay. Here's CBC, the Communist Broadcasting Corporation. Now, I live on Lake Huron, a little town called Kincardine, about 10, 15 miles from the world's biggest nuclear plant, which wants to bury nuclear waste right on the shoreline of Lake Huron. And the one that was in charge of this in the past was Elizabeth Dowdeswell, who was mentored by Morris Strong. And after Morris Strong gave up the head of UNEP, Elizabeth Dowdeswell took it over. Elizabeth Dowdeswell says she's sick and tired of this incrementalism used to take us down, that she just wants to get it done. Let's go. Now, Elizabeth Dowdeswell is the lieutenant governor of Ontario. Go figure. So I didn't know about this. We had our first LGBTQ parade here last year. Or no, we had it this spring, this summer. And now I see in the Communist Broadcasting Corporation News, known as CBC News Canada, I didn't know about this. LGBT teens discover a Lake Huron haven at Rainbow Camp. Sponsored by Tim Horton Donuts. I don't know about that, but I wouldn't doubt it. On a cold, late August morning, 14-year-old Max Yemelayanov huddles into a circle of groggy teens, some still wrapped in their blankets. A homemade rainbow flag flaps in the brisk wind as more young people trickle out of their cabins and gather around. This is probably on an old United Church youth camp, probably. There's a welcome practicality to the morning ritual. Everyone rub their hands together. Let's create some warm vibes, shouts a cheery counselor. Another day at Rainbow Camp is about to begin. I hope every queer kid should be able to have this experience of knowing that they are not alone in the world, says the 14-year-old, a transgender camper who identifies as a male. He is from Virginia, but this Canadian camp... Oh, my freaking monitor just had a fart. Just a second here. I don't think I'm going to get through this before the end of the show. The monitor's getting too hot or something. What do I got here? I only got a couple of minutes. I hope every queer kid should be able to have this experience of knowing that they are not alone in the world. From Virginia, but this Canadian camp is the closest place he's found to feeling like home. Being around so many other kids that are just like you is something you can recreate everywhere else. It's just an amazing experience, and it makes you feel that much more validated. Nestled in northern Ontario on the shores of Lake Huron, Rainbow Camp gives LGBT kids, doesn't say Q, LGBT kids, a place to connect with themselves and each other. Since it opened 5 years ago, I haven't heard about this thing before, it's become a haven for teens struggling with their sexuality and identity. The biggest change was the amount of trans kids that we have, says camp founder Harry Stewart. We've gone from just having a couple to last week, I'd say about 95-98% trans. Stewart created the camp because he wishes there had been a place like it when he grew up in nearby Thiessen, Ontario. There's Thiessen. As a gay man still living in that small town, he remains acutely aware of how hard it is to come out and be up. A lot of our campers are really looking for love and respect. I mean, we're only 50 miles away from Sault Ste. Marie. Okay, now I know whereabouts it is. And my husband and I, we don't hold hands anywhere. I just don't feel safe. So I just look at these kids and think for them, it's got to be that much harder. The increase in transgender campers, Stewart says, may be due to more awareness in general about being transgender, and although there are other camps for LGBT teens in Canada, this is the only one that focuses on the kids having fun. Sure, there's swimming and canoeing and bog runs, but not much else is typical. Campers are assigned to cabins by age, not gender. Same goes for bathrooms. Then there are the activities of like grave digging, where they can bury their former gender identities. Oh, for crying out loud. That's messed up. grave digging, where they can bury their former gender identities. And makeup with Maya, a makeup lesson with a drag queen from Toronto. It's an extraordinary opportunity to step further into an emerging identity, or simply try one on. Dawson Runtley, 19, a former camper and now a counselor in training, says the camp helped him embrace the fact that he is gay. In 5 short days, he sees kids transformed. They came into the camp with a name and left with a new name, new identity. They find a safe space to do it. Here, everyone has the ability to try out new names and different names. Safe space is a mantra here, and much needed one. Many of the campers struggle with anxiety and depression. Well, you know, the transgender queer suicide rate is like, I forget what the percentage is, higher than the general public, 50% plus higher than the general population. You wonder why? Because instead of talking to these kids as male and female children who may have some problems here or there, and trying to work them through it, they target these kids. They absolutely target these kids. Oh, here it is here. The rate of attempted suicide among transgender youth in particular is staggeringly high, 4 times higher than for youth in general. Well, now we got a problem. So you're targeting these kids and you're turning them into transgenders, knowing full well that the suicide rate is 4 times higher than the general population. Now, you would think if the suicide rate is 4 times higher than general population, you would try to work these kids through whatever their confusion is or whatever, or maybe quit drinking water out of plastic bottles, or quit taking these vaccinations, or quit listening to your stupid counselors and your stupid teachers, and the rhetoric that's shoved through everybody's head. Target them. This really disgusts me. I'm not going to read. There isn't not much left to this read, but I'm going to put it in the chat because we're just about out of time. I don't know if I lost Chris, didn't lose Chris, what's going on there with him. But this is where we're going to leave the show. And I'll stuff this in here. So if you're feeling fancy and you want a new face job by a drag queen, you can slide on up near Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, to the Happy Camp, where you can grave dig and bury your old agenda or your old gender and pick up a new one, and maybe leave your old name, Bill, and leave, I don't know, you can call yourself Bonnie, or you can come in and Bonnie and leave as Bill, knowing full well that your rate of suicide will go up 4 times higher than the general population. Anyways, we're just about out of time. Hal's up here at 3 o'clock behind the woodshed. Please tune in. Very intelligent man. Shawley was on before this show, and I missed it because I was out having breakfast with Liza. Why do I keep calling her Liza? Liza. And I'm so glad to meet her. Very intelligent lady. And not a happy teacher, but a very intelligent lady. And together, we will turn this around. And we... I'm going to hear music right now. I love this. I don't know if Chris is going to see it. Hal just put in, the fluoride finally got to Chris. That's a possibility. That's way funny. Watch that plastic bottle, Chris. You'll be up in 2 minutes. Everybody have a great day. Hal's on the street. Take care. We're out of here, and please pray for the hurricane. Don't donate money to the ex-president or
making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air, fuck them back, it's only for they bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one makes countries laugh to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives.
is Aussie Skateboard, and you're listening to UC Live.